The New Zealand team and Australian team on court. Umpires in position. And it looks as if it's Australia with the first throw off. Marcia for Australia.
Thank you.
Immediately it's New Zealand's possession. Tomanu, the goal defence. Sandra Millerton centre court with the centre bib on. Rita Fatialofa tries the bounce pass. Margaret Forsyth gets the penalty. Forsyth, the goal attack. The flip pass across to Tracy Earle. Tracy Earle, goal shooter. Retrieved well by Forsyth. The goal's in for New Zealand. Easy start for New Zealand.
Right, and you'll find that both teams are wanting to settle down pretty quickly. New Zealand took a little while to get the ball down to their goal, but that's because they want to make sure of it. They want to just settle down in this first few minutes and then really put on the pressure later on.
Australia, loose pass but retrieved. Ella. Australia just looking for space a little. The defence, New Zealand, holding strong. Penalty against Australia's goal attack. Long pass down court from Waimarama Tomanu. Penalty again to New Zealand. Forsyth, the goal attack. Up with the shot, and it's New Zealand moving into a 2-goal lead. Margaret Forsyth for New Zealand. Just on the replay, she steadies, sits on the edge of the ring and then drops through. Mallet, speed through the centre court. Tracy Earle looking for support, back passes it. Excellent play from New Zealand.
Well, it was great to see that actually. Margaret Forsyth actually being marked face guarded, and if at the last moment she just made an easy roll around. It's excellent play. I think you'll find that Margaret Forsyth will be very tightly marked because I think Australia is aware of her qualities. She's going to have to lead the New Zealand attack, and they're going to try. They'll probably end up putting 2 on 1.
So it'll be a throw into Australia. Sally Ironmonger, the goalkeeper. The umpire calls play. Jenke at goal defence. Down court to Peterson. Cross court this time to Ella. Vicky Wilson out of the circle.
The one thing New Zealanders will have to do is to make sure that the outside defence players mark those players tightly, because the one thing that Australians do a lot of is the shooters, they take the ball, then pass it out, and then get a better shooting position.
Contact goal attack, penalty pass Australia.
Penalty this time against Margaret Forsyth. At goal attack.
Suction attack and penalty pass Australia.
New Zealand just being penalised, perhaps a little over-eager. Lisa Behag, wing defence. Susan Kenny. A loose pass from Australia. Marcia Ella and Janelle Peterson, the centre and wing attack, just not reading each other. Tracy Earle out of the circle. Again, she's looking for support.
Contact goal attack Australia, penalty pass New Zealand.
Again, Forsyth doing well to retrieve that ball. Tracy Earle with the shot. Replayed ball by Australia. Again, it's Tracy Earle. And Earle really needs to get a shot in.
Yeah, she probably wants to get in a good shooting position. What's interesting then that she wasn't given the ball straight away, because by really delaying the pass, it allows the defence players to come around for the intercept. So really New Zealand needs to sharpen up those passes a little bit more.
So it's Australia. Vicky Wilson and Susan Kenny combining in the Australian circle. The shot to Vicky Wilson. So with just 2 minutes remaining in this first quarter, it's New Zealand 10, Australia 7. Australia's Lisa Behag, wing defence, to Marcia Ella, the centre. The obstruction from Lee Gibbs within the allowed distance. Sue Kenny. Just a little underhand pass into Vicky Wilson.
Goalkeeper contact.
The contact this time against Tracy Fear for New Zealand. Australia in possession. Peterson on the far side of the circle.
Throw into New Zealand.
Ball was out of court, so the throw into New Zealand's Tracy Fear. To Lee Gibbs at wing defence. Sandra Millett in centre court has it. Millett again. New Zealand robbed of the pass.
Right, that was better defence work by the Australians. In fact, they did tight mark around the circle edge.
Obstruction. Goalkeeper. Penalty.
It's very hard when a player rolls the circle the way she does. Tracy Fear really should have cut a straight line towards the player, but because she rolled with her, she was caught for a contact.
Sandra Millett for New Zealand. Off Australia, so the throw into Fatialofa.
Goalkeeper penalty pass or shot.
And really, Tracy Earle's having a mammoth battle in that circle against Sally Ironmonger. So at quarter time, it's New Zealand 10, Australia 9. Yvonne Willering, New Zealand really moved away into a handy lead there, but Australia have come back and come back well.
Yeah, I think both teams are a little bit hesitant at the moment. They're aware of each other's strengths, and therefore they're also making sure they're not going to make any mistakes themselves. But by doing that, they're actually inhibiting their own style of play. New Zealand at the moment aren't really putting the ball through the mid-court as fast as I would have expected them to do it, but no doubt they'll come back in the second quarter and probably will do it then.
A lot of rivalry between Australia and New Zealand, and they're the Australian supporters. Probably still reeling a wee bit from that defeat by Trinidad yesterday, right back in behind the Australian team.
Yeah, they'll want to see their team come out well and strong in this one, and I think Australia also will want to prove themselves in this one. They would have been disappointed about yesterday's game, but then really, in all fairness, the better team did win on the day.
So play just underway in the second quarter. And immediately Australia given a penalty. The shot up for Australia. Vicky Wilson, star goal shooter. Australia drawing level at 10 all. And again, Tracy Earle, she doesn't want to shoot.
Right, that was a tricky move by her, actually. She actually went out of court and then came around the other side. If the Australian defence player wanted to, she actually could have elected to have kept her out of court. With the rule the way it stands, so long as the defence player stays on court, you can defend the player off the court. So she was lucky with that one.
Really, Australia coming out with a vengeance here, and New Zealand will have to be careful. They win the rebound.
It's very important for New Zealand to make sure that they get the rebound. See, at the moment, since two of them jump in the one shot, you really need to only have one person taking the shot and one person going for a rebound.
For the first time, Australia hit the front at 11 to 10. Time called just by while the ball is retrieved. And it's Lisa Behag. Australia just speeding up their passes a little. Out of court was Vicky Wilson that time. She jumped back into court to take the pass.
She has a tendency to do that, really, and really she should have been back in the action far sooner than she was.
New Zealand's passing got to be so vitally accurate. Really, Tracy Earle has got to stop worrying about tall Sally Ironmonger.
Right, I think they need to work together a little bit more so in there. At the moment, yeah, it is affecting her, so I think it's important that Margaret makes herself available as well. But on the other hand, you know, the shot is still there to be taken.
And Australia have scored, so it's back to New Zealand's throw-off. Still Australia. Ella in space.
You'll notice at the moment that New Zealanders, the team, rather than doing straight man-to-man marking, they're actually marking space more until the ball gets near the goal circle. That's good type of defence because it allows you to go for intercepts, whereas if you're doing tight man-to-man marking, it is very difficult because you often can come up for contacts of obstructions.
Contact against Rosalie Jenke, so Forsyth has the penalty, flips the ball across to Earl. Earl the shot. New Zealand just trailing by 1 goal.
You notice New Zealand pairing in the circle there, Waitamanu and Tracy Fear, they're quite happy to interchange with the goalkeeper coming out and the goal defence going back in the circle. I think that's terrific team play, and there's no reason why a goalkeeper should always be confined to the goal circle, as often people seem to think is necessary.
Fear with the penalty, but perhaps it's a little worrying that Fear and Tamanu aren't getting the rebounds that they're normally used to getting.
Well, at the moment, I think they're concentrating too much on the shooter rather than the end result as well.
Fear wins the toss-up. Patia Lofa comes through. New Zealand just panicking a little. Full of concentration still, but just some passes going astray.
You'll notice that everyone works on defence, right back from the goal shooter right the way through the court, and that's the way it should be. Everyone on attack and everyone on defence.
Throw in to New Zealand.
Right, New Zealand must capitalise on any missed shots.
Tracy Fear still able to smile as she looks for support. Patia Lofa having to come a long way up court.
Actually, I think both teams were quite looking forward to this game in a way. They probably would have preferred to have matched each other at a later time in the competition where both teams would have had a better build-up towards it. But nevertheless, it's a game that's going to be totally skillful and with the better team winning.
Contact goalkeeper.
The contact against Sally Ironmonger. Again, Forsyth screens Earl for the shot and wins the rebound. Shot there for New Zealand.
Right, and they may need to do a little bit more of that until Tracy Earl gets settled down again.
12 all. Earl out of the circle. Shot there again for Tracy Earl. Crowd love it.
Right, on that occasion, you know, she was quite happy just to do a sidestep to get away from the hand and sight the goal.
And also with that shot, she kept her hand steady instead of juggling with the ball on her hand before she took the shot.
Right, she has a tendency to try to get Sally Ironmonger to jump prior to the shot being taken, but also by doing that, she also destroys her own flowing shooting action.
13 all. What a battle we have on our hands. Patia Lofa at the top of the circle. Unable to find either of the shooters free.
She really was off balance when she passed that ball. She really wanted to pass and cut straight into Tracy Earl, but because she wasn't ready for that, she had to look for an alternative means, and it wasn't available.
New Zealand win the penalty and so win back possession. Almost another loose pass.
Yeah, they're really keeping the ball in the mid-court too long, and it's allowing the Australian defence to set up accordingly. So they really need to clear it far greater than what they're doing at the moment.
Behag and Patia Lofa, wing attack and wing defence respectively, having a real tussle.
They're both gutsy players. They know what it's all about, and they're both very much wanting the ball. They play the ball, and that's the way to go.
Tamanu goes high for the ball. The contact's against her, though. Mallet does well to put the ball out of court because it was a 2-on-1 situation in the circle.
It surprised me then they passed the ball to the top of the circle and then the end. Normally what happens when you've only got one defence player marking two inside the circle, there's always a rush to get the ball in there, whereas really two passes would have beaten the defence player anyway.
So Australia 14, New Zealand 13. Australia on attack. Still Australia, the tip by Tomanu. New Zealand having to look for some support.
It surprised me that the Australian shooters aren't, well, at least one of them isn't staying in the circle, because as soon as they go out, obviously Waitamanu and Tracy Fia aren't going to allow their passage back in the circle, and that's why they're promoting the long shots only.
Marciarello. Well taken by Peterson. Off balance. Tomanu takes in the pass, so it's Patialofa. Forsyth really has to reach for that ball. And how much do you think the wind is having an effect on this passing?
I think it has to a certain degree, but then it doesn't. I can't understand why the players haven't reacted accordingly and just shorten the passes. But you can still speed the ball through, but it's more ball speed rather than just player speed.
Double contact. Forsyth and Ironmonger. 4-1 by Forsyth. 14 all. Goal doesn't count. So it's back to Australia 14, New Zealand 13. New Zealand's Sandra Mellett. Rita Patialofa.
New Zealand.
The penalty to New Zealand. And again Forsyth screens for Earl. This time it's 14 all.
But Sally Ironmonger at the moment is really tight marking Tracy Earl, and because of that she's actually going to get caught for contact because she's getting very square onto the pass. And there again she conceded the pass and is only going basically for the rebound.
Penalty this time against Earl as she came in for the rebound, contacting her Australian opposite. Great work, Sandra Mellett.
Right, you notice the whole defensive line up there from New Zealand, they actually marked the player away from the ball, and that's why the diagonal pass had to come across the court, and that is actually a very easy pass to intercept.
Tracy Earl breathing heavily. Takes the penalty. Nets for New Zealand. Again, the goal didn't count. What's going on down there, Yvonne?
I've no idea. I don't know whether she's getting caught for contact or what.
So Australia, right in the game. New Zealand not letting up.
I think you'll find whatever is happening out there that the coach will no doubt be questioning the umpires about it and thus getting rid of that in the third quarter.
The little bounce into Australia's shooter. So Australia moving to a 2-goal lead. 16-14.
Interesting to see her take a step in there because as you could see, the Tracy Fia was then able to actually mark her very, very close. You've got to be very careful as a shooter when you take that step in, that there isn't in fact a defence player nearby that can actually come right up close to you.
Tracy Earl, shots there, 16-15. Australia just one in front. Four minutes remaining in the second quarter. Wilson and Kenny, the Australian shooters, great shooting from Vicky Wilson. Patialofa, bounce passes. Plenty of contact going on that circle.
There's a lot of tight marking going on outside because the players are aware that that pass out and back in is on all the time.
Australia 17, New Zealand 16. This time it's Ella looking for support. Across the circle. Contact on Tracy Fia.
Yeah, actually, Australia's playing that a lot, where they have the centre over one side of the circle and the wing attack way across on the other side of the circle. I would have thought really it would have been better to have had one at the top and thus shorten the passes, because by having the long pass all the way across it gives the defence actually time to sort of set up accordingly again. So that certainly is in New Zealand's favour.
New Zealand's Rita Patialofa, wing attack. Contact again against Australia. Earl steadies. Ironmonger rebounds well. Ball out of court, so it's New Zealand again. You can see the long reach of Australia, making it difficult for the New Zealand shooters. Rosalie Jenke, Australia's goal defence. Australia 18, New Zealand 17.
On New Zealand, this one.
Silly back pass from New Zealand, giving away possession.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with back passing if you want to get into a better position, but really that wasn't passed into the space. It was passed directly to the person, and therefore it was anyone's ball, really.
Ball won by New Zealand. The penalty to Tracy Fear.
It was bad ruling, really. She should have played advantage, because now New Zealand's been put at a disadvantage because everyone's allowed to set up. They had the ball, it should have just been allowed to flow.
Now come on, New Zealand, steady it down. Margaret Forsyth.
That goalkeeper, you're leaning on her. Penalty, New Zealand.
You can hear very clearly the umpire's ruling. Tracy Earl takes the penalty, and it's all tied up at 18 all.
At the moment, both teams are playing a very similar style of game, and they're both playing at the same speed. And it's very important that you don't do this. If one team's playing slow, then the other team really should speed up and thus lose the defense accordingly. But they're really, at the moment, what I would call churning it out.
Just under 1 minute of play. Before half-time. Tracy Earl. Important shot, but she undershoots.
It was never a confident shot. She really didn't have her body balance, and she was actually already going in there for a rebound before the ball even left her hands.
Crowd seeing something that the umpires didn't see. New Zealand in possession.
You notice there that two Australian players actually went for the same ball. That should never happen in a game. I mean, surely there should have been team understanding. And if one player was ahead of the other, they simply needed to call out mine for it.
And at half-time, it's New Zealand 18, Australia 18. And Yvonne Willering, after being down by 1 goal at 10-9, Australia have really come back in that second quarter.
Yeah, I think both teams are still very cagey about their play, and well, I would say that really the telling quarter must be this next quarter. It is very difficult going into a fourth quarter if you're sort of 2 or 3 goals down to then peg it back. So I'm sure New Zealand will now want to really show dominance on the game and really peg back the points here.
Teams back on court. Crowd rising to both as they come back onto the court. 18 all. And what a setup for the final 2 quarters.
Yeah, it's actually a totally new ball game, and only difference now is that both teams have settled down, and they will take each goal for what it is. And I think you'll find that both teams are going to try and display dominance in this quarter.
Kenny the shot. The rebound by New Zealand. Time called by the umpire. Kenny just with a slight knock. Susan Kenny, Australia's goal attack. She's okay.
The Australian team actually has been hit with a number of injuries, and that's all obviously made it very difficult for them. In fact, also with substitution. The New Zealand team, well, they can still substitute. They've got no injuries, and they've got a number of strong combinations they can call on.
And a push in the back there by Sally Ironmonger. Gives Tracy Earl the shot. Undershoots again, retrieves those.
Australia centre penalty pass New Zealand.
You've got to give a full credit for that, though. If a shooter misses a shot, I mean, they never mean to miss, but so long as they go in for a rebound, and after that, so long as they go on defence, you can't ask for any more than that.
New Zealand 19, Australia 18. Australia's captain, Anne Sargent, not on court.
She'll be finding it very difficult standing on the sideline then.
Fatialofa finds Julie Townsend, New Zealand substitute at wing defence. Tracy Earl. Fatialofa takes a tumble. She and Lisa Behag, Australia's wing defence, contesting every ball. Good feed from Fatialofa. It's New Zealand 20, Australia 18. Plenty of determination on their face.
Well, I think they've come out looking strong. They know that they're capable of it, and they also know that they haven't played to their full potential, so they'll want to do that now.
Ella sprawls on the ground. She tried to take that ball for Australia. Julie Townsend. Earl in space. Centre passes it.
But interesting to see how New Zealand has now had a change of tactics, because you have a look at it. Tracy Earl is now actually coming out of the circle far more. She's becoming the player that's going to do more of the feeding, and Margaret Forsyth, you'll find, is going to do predominantly a little bit more of the shooting. So it's really just a straight interchange between goal shooter and goal attack.
Really, Forsyth had all sorts of problems trying to get that shot away until she got the straight penalty.
Right, just a misunderstanding there. Tracy Earl elected to really dodge away from the ball when really the better option was to dodge towards the ball, as Margaret Forsyth thought she was going to do.
Peterson in space. The umpire's whistle is gone. Contact against Julie Townsend. Australia. Sue Kenny. Pass to New Zealand, Hill ball.
Yeah, she was actually waiting for the jump to occur, and because it was a delayed jump, she got caught because of it.
New Zealand try the bounce pass, which just goes completely through Forsyth's hands.
It's very important to capitalise on the opposition's mistakes at the moment, but unfortunately both teams are making mistakes.
Australia. Far side of the court. Vicky Wilson, long shot. New Zealand have the rebound. They break quickly. Down through the court they go. Fatialofa.
Right, and that's what we want to see more of. The quick break through the court, through the mid-court, and really getting it to your shooters within plenty of time.
And then we have to put in the shot.
That's right, the finishing off is very important.
So Australia now. Townsend, brilliant intercept from her. And Tracy Earl never looks like getting that pass.
Well, it's very important to finish off, because if people do great work down the court, if it's finished off with a shot, I don't know, it seems to inspire you, and you'll produce it again over and over again. But without it being finished off, it puts you under that total pressure.
Nearly another deflection by New Zealand. Tamanu penalised. 2-on-1 in the Australian circle again.
But it still surprised me that they elected to give it to the person that was the furthest out, rather than trying to get it to the one that was closest to the basket.
New Zealand's penalty. Well won by Waimarama Tamanu. Just see the wind, quite gusty at the moment. Just an injury there to New Zealand's Tracy Earl, or perhaps it's the flu that's she's not quite over, Yvonne.
Well, she was breathing fairly heavily in that last quarter, and it may just have got on top of her. I mean, she's also in a very much pressure situation, and she knows that there's a strong reliance on her.
Margaret Martinga just taking a little time. Get a few shots in until the time is up. She looks pleased to be getting the chance.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it's always a great thrill to be playing against Australia. But she will be required to give, or she's going to need a little bit of settling in time. So you'll probably find that Margaret Forsyth will make sure that the first goal that she does take is going to be a close shot.
Sad for Tracy Earl, but the crowd give her a great hand as she leaves the court. New Zealand camp just looking a little worried. Margaret Martinga safely on court, the goal shooter bib on, the GS bib. And play underway again. 21-18, New Zealand over Australia. New Zealand now with 2 substitutions on court. Julie Townsend for Lee Gibbs. And now Margaret Martinga for Tracy Earl. Australia whip up play. Take the shot from wide out to Vicky Wilson.
It's very important for New Zealand at this stage to regain their momentum, because at the moment Australia took advantage of that, as you could see, and they really whipped the ball down the court.
Marciarella in space. Easy pass taken by Australia in the circle. Still looking for a better position from wide out in front. Long shot.
But you notice then that really they elected to give it to Vicky Wilson in preference to Susan Kenny, whereas Susan really was closer to the shot. But they tend to pass to the person that's sort of on the move rather than the stationary player.
Sandra Millett. Tamanu with the penalty. Fatialofa. Martinga didn't take the shot. Retrieved by Millett. Forsyth, long shot. Martinga got the rebound. Again, Sally Ironmonger. She must be obstructing. Shots there for New Zealand. New Zealand 22, Australia 19. So again, New Zealand's possession. Quick pass from Martinga to Forsyth. Shot astray though.
But it was very unlikely that Margaret Martinga was going to shoot that one, and Australia really should have been aware of that. She's not going to take a few long shots until she regains her confidence in the shooting circle.
So 6 minutes into this third quarter, it's New Zealand 22, Australia 19. Waimarama Tomanu. Forsyth finds Fatialofa. The penalty ruled by umpire Brenda Prince from Trinidad inside the New Zealand circle. And again the long reach of Ironmonger. The contact against Martinga. Loose ball retrieved by New Zealand. They really just need to steady, don't they, to give Margaret Martinga and Julie Townsend just time to join in with the team pattern.
At the moment, I'd say that New Zealand's strength is their total defence work, whereas really now they just need to settle down and take, the attacking play. They need to finish it off.
Martinga the shot, New Zealand 23, Australia 19. Wind looks as if it's got up a wee bit, just affecting the players on court. Sally Ironmonger, the strong Australian goalkeeper. Great work, Sandra Millett.
It's one good thing about Sandra Millett. She's actually very, very strong both on attack and on defence. And to have a centre of that calibre is always excellent for any team.
Just listen to the support that the New Zealand crowd are giving this New Zealand team. Vicky Wilson for Australia. New Zealand have the rebound. Millett has it. Fatialofa at wing attack. Margaret Forsyth being closely marked by Rosalie Jenke.
The idea was good there. Margaret Forsyth came in behind Margaret Martinga, but unfortunately Rita Fatilova saw it too late and allowed the defence player to come in between accordingly.
But Australia with an unforced error, so it's back to New Zealand. And this is tough work in here, Yvonne.
Yeah, at the moment it seems that both teams seem to be a little bit panicked about it, and they're not capitalising on the opposition's errors.
Robbed of the ball in New Zealand. Australia break very quickly down court. Really before New Zealand even had time to turn around. So it's New Zealand 23, Australia 20.
Vicky Wilson will have been happy with that shot because she's actually missed the last few in a row, and she'll need to regain her confidence.
The Australian players looking very close to being obstructing the New Zealand pass.
Yeah, they mark tightly in there, and in that situation again, and they're actually coming from over the top.
Goal line. Play. Contact Australia centre, penalty pass New Zealand.
Right over the back goes Marcia Allett. The penalty to New Zealand. And again, very close is Rosalie Jenke. The goal low to Margaret Forsyth for New Zealand. New Zealand 24, Australia 20. Loose pass, picked up by Margie Martinga. Sandra Millett. Millett and Fatialofa having to work that ball around. Forsyth, great move back into space. The shot's there for Margie Forsyth.
You notice at the moment New Zealand is not prepared to take any of the long shots, and the outside attackers are available there to enable the shooters to get into a much better shooting position.
Clean and confident shot from Margaret Forsyth. New Zealand 25, Australia 20.
The Australians actually not reacting to the umpire very well at all. They're being caught for obstruction and contact, and because of that they're being stood out of play, and that's allowing New Zealand to always have that free player.
Millett being contacted by Ella, the advantage rule being applied. The obstruction this time called against the Australian defence. Forsyth, shot there, 26-20. New Zealand opening up a handy lead, and look at Forsyth, she wants more.
Well, this is a time for New Zealand to really pour on the pressure, because it's always difficult when you're coming from behind because you can't afford to make mistakes. Whereas New Zealand, in the position that they are now, they can try out a variety of different things, and I'm sure they'll have success with it because they are relaxed about it.
I can tell you that throb of Kiwis in the crowd. It's doing something for me, so it must be doing something for the players.
Right here, please.
The penalty to Australia. Vicky Wilson out jumps the New Zealand defence. 26-21. Still New Zealand in front. Townsend. Deflection out over the goal line by Australia. Outside the circles, so either Sandra Mellett or Rita Fatialofa can take it, and it's Mellett in centre court. Umpire that time not playing the advantage rule.
Contact with defence Australia, penalty pass New Zealand.
And again Rita Fatialofa and Lisa Behag battle it out outside the circle.
Contact goal defence, penalty pass or shot. Contact goalkeeper, penalty pass or shot.
Right, you notice in that Rita Fatilova passed it to Sandra Mallet at the top of the circle rather than passing it in. The reason for doing that is because it really wrong foots, it wrong sides the defence players, because they were both marking on the right-hand side, and thus it allowed the whole of the left-hand side space to be open. And that's where New Zealand's really playing it well, and the fact that they are feeding the open space of the player.
Ball wasn't taken in centre court from the throw-off, so the pass comes back to New Zealand.
Offside Australia, centre free pass New Zealand.
The wind's picked up considerably. Quite a strong wind blowing outside. Still the rain keeps away.
Australia.
Throw into Australia.
Play.
It actually surprised me that Margaret Martinga took that shot because it was quite a way out. The wind has picked up, and also really there was no one in a good rebounding position. She really should have just passed that ball around a little bit more so.
Australia make a mess of that, so it's back to New Zealand.
Really, Australia at the moment isn't tight marking in there, so New Zealand's quite happy just to play the ball around.
Forsyth penalised for contact. Lisa Behag. Janelle Peterson.
Notice the Australians are really struggling to find someone free at the moment, so it's really good, tight defence work by the New Zealand team. They're obviously not being allowed to play the game that they're usually capable of playing.
Martinez contact, goalkeeper, goal attack.
Double contact called. The toss-up won by Fear. Excellent work. New Zealand break again. Mallet has it. Down court go New Zealand. Superb work. The club combination, Wellington combination of Rita Fatialofa and Margie Martinga making great openings in that New Zealand goal circle.
Yeah, if you can take the ball in the air and deliver it at the same moment, it really off-puts the defence player, because for that second, they've actually lost sight of the attacking player, and it's always a time when an attacking player will always be clear.
Just 1 minute of play remaining in this third quarter. New Zealand 28, Australia 21. Waimarama Tamanu, goal defence for New Zealand. Fatialofa out jumps Australia. Margie Martinga with the penalty.
Goal attack, penalty pass Australia.
Yeah, they put themselves under a lot of pressure then, because Margie Martinga really shouldn't have stepped in, because by doing so, she really allowed the defence player to mark her, but also because it was such a short distance, the defence player in the same time could also defend Margaret Forsyth.
So we're into the last seconds of play. Australia penalised. New Zealand, long pass. Two players, Martinga and Ironmanker, going up for the ball. Ironmanker wins the penalty. Australia come back on attack, robbed of it by Julie Townsend.
Contact Australia, centre, penalty pass New Zealand.
Fatialofa has it just outside New Zealand's circle. Martinga trying to slip through, and it's three-quarter time. It's New Zealand 28, Australia 21. And what a pulsating quarter that was, Yvonne.
Yeah, that's the quarter where you want to win it in. I think New Zealand's gone out strong. They obviously had a very strong team talk, and they were all out there, and I think they've got what they wanted to get.
Well, with that comment, Yvonne Willering, this final quarter.
I think you'll find that New Zealand is just going to make sure of their own centre pass off, and any mistakes that Australia are going to make, but they're going to capitalise on it. But I think you'll find they're going to work for goal. I think they'll be quite happy with the difference in the scores at the moment. As long as they can maintain that goal difference, they're going to be happy.
Well, come on, New Zealand. This final quarter, just 15 minutes, ahead by 28-21. Margaret Martinga and Julie Townsend, the substitutes for New Zealand. And you can see they're on court. Anne Sargent, Australia's goal attack, has made it for the final quarter.
I think that's a smart move by Australia, because Anne Sargent does restore a lot of really settling down time for the Australians, and she's one of the most experienced players out there, and she knows what it's about, so you know they can only improve through her efforts out there on court.
Fariolo, great work from her.
But New Zealand, on the other hand, they're going to make sure of this lead in the game, and they're going to make sure that the Australians, if they're going to do anything about it, they're going to have to fight for it.
Australia have also made a second substitute, Michelle Jones, coming on in centre position for Marcia Allen. So there's Anne Sargent at goal attack with the GA bib on, and Michelle Jones with the C bib on.
But Marcia Allen is actually suffering from a bit of a knee injury. She suffered in yesterday's game, and they made that same substitute yesterday. And Michelle Jones really came on, and she did her team no harm. She gave it her best effort, and I'm sure that's what she's going to be out there doing again this time.
New Zealand looking after that ball. Forsyth has it. Shots up, but she undershoots. No doubt that's the wind. Martinga trying to go for the rebound. Contacted her opposite. Michelle Jones.
Right, you notice the whole New Zealand team is back out there on defence as well. I mean, the shots been missed, but they're all out there trying to regain it. It's very important that you try and take the ball back in as close as possible to the goal third, rather than waiting for it to get right into the defence third.
And the support's there for New Zealand. Fatialofa involved in a toss-up, well supported by a New Zealand teammate.
That was better defence work from the Australians. In fact, that they marked the players away from the ball, and really Silent Mallet had no alternative but to do the long pass all the way across the other side of the circle.
Goal disallowed. Australia come away.
Australia.
Vicky Wilson left on court for Australia. Sue Kenny, the one taken off. Mallet just a wee bit too fast that time.
Both teams actually have increased the pace of the game, but now it's very important. If one again increases the speed, the other one must tone it down.
The shot to Australia. 29-22. Michelle Jones.
Interesting to note that Anne Sargent's actually playing goal attack, because in the last game she actually was playing goal shooter. So a lot's going to be expected of her. She's going to have to do a lot of the field play as well as taking a lot of the shots.
Contacted there against Anne Sargent. She tried to come through and bumped off Waimarama Tamanu.
New Zealand's very aware of that baseline cut that she is capable of, and that's why they're limiting the space in which she can move.
Martinga out of the circle. Great space there from Forsyth. The shot's there for New Zealand.
And that showed great confidence, because rather than pass the ball out again, Rita Fatilova was quite willing just to hold onto the ball until such a time that Margaret was going to make space for herself.
New Zealand 30, Australia 22. The throw into New Zealand. Martinga takes the ball well across the Mallet. Martinga steadies. You heard the groan from Martinga. Mallet comes through and gets the deflection, but on the way through, the contact was there.
Right, she just left it a little bit too late, that was all, and so she topped the player as she came around. But it was still great anticipation by her. That was always going to miss, because if you had a look at it, when she took the big step in, she was really totally off balance, and really she should have passed it out. But Waimarama Tamani had it well covered.
Fatialofa. Down court goes Mallet. And that showed some of New Zealand's fine players. They brought that ball with speed down through the court.
That's all they need to do to offload defence, just pass and cut.
And the gap becoming even wider as New Zealand moved to a 31-22 lead.
I think New Zealand's playing with a far more confident than the Australian side. Australia's aware they have to peg it back.
Tamanu to Townsend. Again, Mallet comes through. What an exciting player she is. Bounce pass goes through Martinga's legs.
There's really no need to do a bounce pass on that occasion. Bounce passes, they're a very slow pass, and they really should only be used when you're trying to beat a defending player.
A shot for Australia misses.
I couldn't understand why Australia took that shot then. That was really a time waster. And because time wasn't called, the one thing that Australia can't afford to do now is to, waste time.
Excellent work there. The bounce pass going right into Martinga's hands.
Right, again, because the defence player's in the way, that was a good use of the bounce pass. Because defensively, if you're standing up tall that way, it's very difficult to then bend down and go for that bounce pass.
Loose ball. New Zealand, Mallet. It's all go here as New Zealand break away with the ball, but you can see the Australian defence. It's tightened. Martinga in space, and the crowd love it.
I think New Zealand's gaining with confidence with every goal scored. And I think you'll find they're now not happy just to settle back with the score difference the way it is. They're going to capitalise on it, and they're going to go for a higher score.
Just listen to that crowd. Superb netball being played by New Zealand. They weathered the early storm that Australia gave them. They're now ahead by 10 goals. Martinga steadies. And I think that must have been held ball against her.
I don't know. Either that or stepping. I really didn't see it.
Again, it's Lisa Behag and Rita Fatialofa vying for that possession. No beg your pardons from either player.
So there again you saw the Australians having the ball over one side of the court, and they elected to pass it right across the other side of the court, but they had no players available to the ball over that side.
Forsyth steadies things down, just waits. New Zealand playing the more controlled netball. Martinga the shot. Neat little bounce pass from Forsyth to Martinga. Clean through the net goes Martinga.
Australia's now at a stage really where they might as well just start passing the ball around. They're still playing very much safety game, and really the time's long gone for that.
Midway through this final quarter, the throw into Australia.
And same there, that pass was never on. I mean, the shooter was defended by two people.
The penalty to Australia. And not quite as much crowd noise when Australia score.
No, I think you'll find most of the people out there are New Zealand supporters.
Top of the circle is Fatialofa.
Goal defence, penalty New Zealand.
Goal attack, Margaret Forsyth. Steps in, takes the shot.
Australians throw in.
Throw into Australia. Again, Australia looking for players in space. Well done, Fatialofa. Forsyth. Push from Rosalie Jenke on Forsyth, but still New Zealand just controlling the passing around the circle.
Yeah, this is a tricky one where wing defence actually goes offside into the circle the way it's happened there, because it actually puts the attacking players at a disadvantage because it allows 2-on-1. But again, there we saw a great use of the bounce pass again.
Michelle Jones, Peterson. but it's all New Zealand. 5 minutes remaining in the quarter. 35-24, New Zealand over Australia. Sargent takes the shot and the rebound. Bit of skill here, Yvonne, as Sargent takes the rebound and the shot in one jump.
Yeah, they actually practice those types of shots where they're actually doing a running type shot. And it does happen quite a lot in the game. So rather than sort of pass it out to someone that may not, in fact, be available to the ball, she elects to shoot it for herself. And that was good shooting action.
Margie Martin is prepared to stand up against Sally Ironmonger. Really working hard in the goal shooter position.
What I think is great to see is that New Zealand's going to fight right to the end, and they're going to try and get every scoring opportunity they can. And they're not just happy with what they've got now. They want to improve on it. (36-26), New Zealand over Australia.
Mallett's outside the circle. Again, Martinga in space. The pass just a little flat. So Martinga retrieved it and takes the shot. And the bigger the gap, the better it is, Yvonne.
Oh, definitely. And it's a different New Zealand team out there at the moment than it was from the first quarter. Obviously, because they know, that the win is there and it's for them to take, and they're not going to relinquish it.
New Zealand's possession. Both Australian players penalised.
Australia's going all out at the moment, but they're obstructing because of it, and that's not good tactics.
This time Australia on the break.
I think you'll have to admit, though, that the game has sped up since Anne Sargent has come on the court. I'm not saying they're necessarily playing a better game, but they are playing with, a little bit more fire and speed in their game.
Just 3 minutes to go. New Zealand 37, Australia 26. Australia's possession. They're looking a tired team, not prepared to give anything away at the moment. Just a little laboured at times with their passing. The penalty against Tracy Fear. Vicky Wilson the shot. In it goes, 37-27. Sandra Mallet for New Zealand. The gap's there. Pass was on, just a little bit flat though. Forsyth does well.
You notice how quick, though, the New Zealanders are to the loose ball. I mean, even when the ball's in flight, there's always there, and New Zealand are there to pick it up.
Rosalie Jenke unable to stop herself there from piling into Margaret Forsyth. 2 minutes remaining, 37-27. Forsyth makes it 38-27. Just listen to the Kiwis in the crowd. Tracy Fear with the throw-in. Cross to Fear.
Right, you notice New Zealand has slowed down the game a little bit more so now. They're quite happy now just to play the ball around. They know that the end must be almost up, and they're just going to make sure of possession.
Double contact, so the toss-up between Forsyth and Jenke. Forsyth has it.
Penalty New Zealand.
Penalty again to New Zealand. Lisa B. Haig, the offender. What a great game those two have had. Really battled it out.
Penalty.
Just over 1 minute remaining. Forsyth makes it. New Zealand 39, Australia 27. Loose ball picked up by Australia. Tamanu penalised. She's still right in the game. Difficult position for Tracy Fear. 2-on-1 in the Australian circle.
Right, that was better play from the Australians, though, where they're prepared to take the ball in, take it back out of the circle, and then bring it back into better shooting position.
Just 30 seconds remaining. 37-28. New Zealand in front. Well in command of the game. New Zealand 39, Australia 28. Throw into Australia. Ironmonger finds Behag, long pass down court. But it's all New Zealand, and Townsend just puts the icing on the cake for New Zealand. Brilliant interception. And there it is, full time. It's New Zealand 39, Australia 28.